Hey everybody! Today I want to talk about an anterior pelvic tilt running and what to do about it. Before I get started, I just want to make sure you hit the subscribe button and make sure to like the video. Really appreciate it. Thanks. Okay, here we go. What is an anterior pelvic tilt? Okay, an anterior pelvic tilt is when you have a little bit of a sway back, and you see that all the time in runners. A posterior pelvic tilt is when you see people sitting in the bucket. They're kind of like sitting back on their butt. So you want a neutral pelvis when you're running. I think a lot of us know that at this point. But if you're too anterior, okay, there's a couple things that you can do, all right? One is there's too much curve in your lower spine. So one of the first things we have to do is get your butt underneath you, okay? So then you can actually use the glutes. I can't tell you how much of the time I get a new client, they've been to the PT, they've been to the Raw, they've been to all these different people, and they're just saying that you're not activating your glutes. And so they do the 5 hip strengthening exercises to activate their glutes. But if you have an anterior pelvic tilt, there is no way that you can activate your glutes in running because you're not in a position. You're landing on your leg and your glutes and your butt's sticking out behind you. So it's really important to have that neutral pelvis so that when you drop in and you rebound back up and with a natural reflexive action, then the glute fires and you get your push off and your hip drive from that. But if your hips are way back behind you with an anterior pelvic tilt, there's no way your glutes are going to activate. You could have the strongest glutes in the world and it's still not going to happen. So one of the things I'll ask my runners to do is to learn how to, let the lower spine just release and swing from the hips. But it's really important in that case to not be arched at the rib cage. If you're too arched at the rib cage, that's going to throw your pelvis back behind you and you're going to have, an arch back here. So getting that rib cage and pelvic connection is super important, and I talk about that with my runners all the time. And it's a little bit counterintuitive because we've been taught to stand up straight, and be really open here. And yeah, you still want that to be open, but the pelvic floor and the diaphragm need to be in relationship to each other. So getting that kind of just lower, letting that spine come underneath you with that slight tug is helpful. But it's not the only thing. The other thing that you want to do is actually get that, what I said before, you want to get the diaphragm in relationship to the pelvic floor, okay? They need to be stacked on top of each other. And if you have that anterior pelvic tilt where that's back, the pelvic floor is tipping back like this, and the rib cage is tipping up like that. And so you need to get those in relationship to each other. And the tuck is one thing, bringing that pelvis underneath you and, letting the lower spine kind of curve underneath you is one thing. But the other piece to that is learning how to get the pelvic floor strong. And so, yeah, I use the chair a lot, and it's in one of my 6 running form exercises, which you can see below. I have it in the description, something that you can get for a very inexpensive price. But the chair exercise actually starts to help you learn how to activate the pelvic floor in relationship to the diaphragm, because it's pretty easy to just feel the pelvic floor when you're sitting on the chair. And you have those sit bones there. And so you can go to the front of the pelvic floor, to the back of the pelvic floor, to the front and the back, and then go right in the middle where you're on top of those sit bones. And that's when you can activate the pelvic floor, and it'll help you pull in those ribs so you feel that core and inner core engagement. The inner core is key. It's not just core muscles, the obliques, the rectus abdominis, the psoas even. It's really getting pelvic floor, diaphragm, transverse abdominis, and multifidi, which are little muscles along the spine, and learning how to get those inner muscles working, and then the more global muscles will come on board. So that's 2 things that you can think about with learning how to get an anterior pelvic tilt out of your running style is, kind of just letting that spine curve under so that you can swing from the spine. And the other one is learning how to engage through the pelvic floor. So I hope you like this video. Make sure you subscribe below, click the like button, and I'll see you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.